So at this point I've got a functioning van, but I've got no electric or no means to plug in. So the next thing I did is I got the hookup hole cut and I put the connector or whatever you call it into the place, sealed it and screwed it in tightly. And at the other end, this is what I did. In my electric cupboard, I cut a panel so I could access the back of the connector and connected the wires to it. Now most people at this point use a consumer unit, which is basically you have like the wire from the outside coming in, you have a circuit breaker in there, and then you run your wires out to all your sockets. Now because I'd been camping in the past, I had this consumer unit for camping, which was basically this thing here that you can see, and you plugged it in at one end to the hookup, and at the other end you plugged in whichever plugs you wanted. And so I used that, and then later when I put my sockets in, all I did, I connected a plug to each socket and then plugged them in. At this point is when my dad gave me an old leisure battery that he had, so that's there in the cupboard as well. Going forward with the 12 volts, I haven't got any pictures of the early stage of that, but basically the cupboard evolved and I ended up with 3 batteries, a small inverter, solar regulator. There's a page on my website that goes into this in a bit more detail. I'll add the link to that actually. But yeah, so I ended up then adding switches in for 12 volt. These switches connect to 12 volt LED strips. These sockets are for the hookup, and there's a battery monitor here as well to keep track of everything. And then basically, as I said before, with the camping consumer unit, I basically wired my sockets to a plug, and then all I needed to do, whichever socket I wanted to run from the inverter, I would just unplug from the consumer unit and plug it into the inverter. So you can see here the sockets at the seating area are now running from the inverter. So that means that these sockets here, when I turn the inverter on, are 240 volts. So that was quite a useful thing to have, to be able to move the inverter power to a different destination in the van if needed. I added 12 volt LED strips all round. Got these multicoloured ones here, just hidden behind a piece of wood, but they reflect nicely down the side of the leatherette. Any shade you like. And I think you've even got a disco light option if you need it, which I've never used.